Good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well. I did the same thing that I did last week though and forgot that.
Oh,
Hi.
evening, Laura. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, good, thank you. You?
Yes, you sound as if you've rushed around to get here.
A little bit. Bedtime's always a bit of a rush.
Yes. Yes, it's nicer when you can just sort of wave goodbye and go, I'm going out now.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Really, as much as I like this falling asleep at the end, it definitely
Yeah. It kind of weighs it up, isn't it? It's like, which one's which?
Leave the chaos behind.
Yeah.
to be honest, just out the house. You can't be helped. I don't know why my dog's barking. Not my problem.
Something moves somewhere. That's all it needs, isn't it?
It's just anybody out on our road, she's got a right thing about telling everybody off about getting in. How dare they get in their cars?
What's your house?
She's terrible. Terrible.
Yes. Our dogs, what seems to be worse at night than during the day.
Luckily, she's really good at night. If she barked at night, I'd think someone was breaking in. She's dead to the world at night, thank God. But
yeah, when we go to sleep, because she sleeps behind me, so I have to move my pillows down the bed so she can sleep behind me, or otherwise I end up with a dog head right here. So yeah, she tries to share my pillow. When we first got her, it's like, nope, she will stay downstairs. She will stay in her bed all night long. And then yes, she's slowly but surely. I think people came to stay or something, and we sort of thought it was easier to take her upstairs, and she just never went back down. Yeah. So yeah, it's not sort of night time when we're asleep, but it's just evening. You know, it's, as you say, I think, yeah, I don't know, maybe there's more stuff going on in the evening that she gets distracted by, but fingers crossed. She disappears as soon as I put my headset in. She takes herself upstairs. So yeah.
No, we started off, funny enough, we started off the other way around. Luna had a crate at the end of our bed and a bed at the end of our bed. She even slept on our bed a little bit. But when they get big, like Labrador is not funny. It was like I get to a point where she was like long ways between me and Zach, and I'm like, no, and two cats in the bed as well. And I said that I got to a point where I went, this is getting silly now. So she then went to the bed at the end of the bed, but then before Will came, I did a whole like, right, animals have to stay downstairs now because I'm not going to cope with a baby and two cats waking a baby up in the middle of the night and everything. So everybody went slowly, did a transition downstairs, and now if you left the door open, she would sleep on the sofa instead. That's her preferred spot to be. So
yeah, she's got more space. She's gone, oh, why did I not do this before? Why there's so much space here?
Upside down like a dead spider. And
yeah. Well, you've seen the size of my dog, haven't you? I think when we thought, yeah, it must be.
So I can, I can see how you get away with that.
Yeah, she is little, but I think she thinks she's smaller than she actually is. I think she thinks she's only like this big.
Yeah.
Michaela didn't say that she was.
No, she said she was looking forward to it, didn't she?
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed she's actually on the phone to somebody at L&D at the moment, trying to get it sorted out. Yeah, as I say, I saw my midwife friend the other day after it was her birthday, and I was like, oh, just talk work for your birthday. And she said it has gone absolutely insane. She said that, so many checking in appointments. So, she's just, it's
a baby boom, a pandemic baby boom.
Yeah. We kind of predicted it as soon as we went into lockdown. We were like, right, I reckon in a couple of months.
Exactly. I thought exactly the same
thing. Yeah, but I think people have possibly sort of put her off just a little bit until sort of now. So yes.
And a lot of cancelled weddings. I think that will have had an effect. So as weddings have been like, that was what happened with us. So as weddings have been cancelled, people have gone, actually, do you know what? We'll have a baby instead for a wedding.
Yeah. Well, as you say, so that was kind of the plan. I'll get married and then we'll start trying.
Yeah.
It might just be,
yeah.
well, we didn't get married, but we'll still start trying.
Yeah, and then we'll just have the wedding after. So I wonder whether that has then had an effect as well. So
Yeah, possibly.
bless her. Oh, I feel for her. That's just so frustrating.
Well, it's frustrating, particularly if you can't get hold of anybody. Just to say,
yeah, someone could explain it to you, you might feel a bit better, but
yeah,
like,
am I on the list?
Had a date to be on the list, like even if it was a few weeks away, at least she'd know that she's got a date for a scan. Yeah. So even though it's delayed, which isn't ideal, at least she'd know. But yeah, the thought of being forgotten completely is not very nice. So
no, I'm wondering if actually getting in touch with a doctor might be a worthwhile thing, of just seeing if they can push it.
Yeah.
I'll try and remember to mention it. Again, it just might just be coming from the right person. They can get in contact with the right.
Yeah, they go via different avenues, don't they, to get there? Or
yeah.
Like Zach does Zach does all my self-employed, like my self-assessment, tax return, and everything like that. I don't have anything to do with it. I couldn't tell you what I had to do at all. But he has, when he does it as like a person, like a normal person, as opposed to an accountant. Sorry, he's an accountant. Then he's like, I don't know how anybody does this, because this is insane. It's a ridiculous system. Whereas obviously they've got their own phone numbers, they've got their own ways of going around it, so it's so much easier for them. So I wonder whether maybe the same thing with the NHS.
Yeah, could well, yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
just knowing the right number to call or the right person to actually ask for, rather than just the general numbers. Actually being able to get in touch with the sonographers rather than. Yeah,
exactly. I wish I knew somebody that worked at L&D, but I don't. I know someone that works at Stoke, the nursery nurse, Laura. If she's called Beth Evans. She's very nice.
one of the ladies from the last course, her husband was a sonographer, because she was saying that it was
name. Gosh, I'm terrible at
Sarah. It wasn't Sarah.
Yeah, it was. Was it? No, I don't think it was Sarah. Was it?
I don't think it was Sarah.
Oh right, okay. I didn't think it was her.
Yeah, I will put it on the Facebook group and their WhatsApp group, and see if they can recommend somebody. Yeah, just at least again, just possibly finding the slightly different way around. I would have thought, I know Michaela's quite friendly with Kathy, who we were talking about last week. I would have thought she would have talked to Kathy to Kathy, as I say, she's part of the sort of L&D, so she might know of a way in. I think we'll begin, and then hopefully she will be able to join us. She's not sent me a message to say she's not able to join for any reason, so let me just double check that nothing's come through. That checking of about 20 different places. No, she's not sent me a Facebook message. She's not sent a WhatsApp message. She's not sent a normal message. I don't think she sent an email, but let's just check. Yeah, no. How many different? That's going to be my genius moment, my Dragon Den moment. Something that you can just get all your messages in one place from every single different platform.
Yep.
One place for me to just go, just, because the amount of times I'm sort of like, oh, I'll reply to that later, and then you're trying to figure out where the person sent the messages. Like, I thought it was Facebook, but maybe not. And I'm useless at Instagram. I'm not very good at direct messaging on Instagram.
The first thing is I've got time limits set on my social media apps, because to stop me sitting and scrolling, it really helps. And so I've got Messenger as part of that. So if someone sends me a Messenger message, if I haven't got I don't have any notifications on for them, so I don't get them. So I have to actually go and check. So that's my worst one. Whereas WhatsApp and everything actually pings up a message. But
I just rely on Carol to do it all for me. She tells me I've got a message that I need to answer. So
great.
Let's begin. So just I was going to try and think. Yes. I thought of a question to actually ask you guys today. So, as always, if you would like to introduce yourself, how many weeks you are, anything that's kind of happened pregnancy-wise or anything that you want to share, but also just top tips for things to take with you. So kind of hospital bag type things. If you found something really helpful last time that, yes, you might not have kind of thought about. So Laura, let's start with you. I'm going to throw you in at the deep end.
So low go. So yeah, Laura, I think I'm 28 weeks. I'm losing track now.
I don't. Are you not a week? I thought you were a week before me. So I don't think you are.
No,
Are you
I'm
not a
meant to be
week?
28 weeks this weekend.
Oh, okay.
I'm losing.
I didn't think I was 27, so
I have to go back into my app to check.
How
Like
different
20
the
We
first
do
time.
without phones.
27. But I'm
27.
28 this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, okay.
At least
I relied on you.
Pregnancy, yeah, it's going okay. Like today, the baby feels really like he's really low down, getting loads of movements like really low down, which has been a bit uncomfortable. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, not too bad. And then what did I take to the hospital? Well, we went to the hospital in quite a rush. And I hadn't actually finished packing my bag. It was pretty much there, but I thought I had a bit more time. So I think
It was
just
early last time then, Laura.
yeah, 38 weeks.
Right.
No, not super early, but I just
Early enough to catch you out.
I'd just finished work that day, and then my waters broke in the evening, so I was gonna finish packing the bag probably like the next day.
Yeah.
So I think just like comfortable clothes for feeding was the biggest issue, because in the hospital I was just trying to feed her like all the time basically, so just things that buttoned down easily, basically. I would say that was I was constantly had my boobs out and easy access. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably I spent a lot of the time just no top, just they're coming on and off so blooming quickly, or they're just permanently on.
So you want to quickly button up again.
Yeah.
And easy up and down things.
I had nursing like nightgowns that had poppers or buttons here on either side, so you could literally get the whole front down. So it was really, you weren't like trying to squeeze your boob around a side bit or anything. It was okay, you need access to both boobs. There you go. And they were fantastic. I've got them ready to go for next time. Not quite, but.
Yeah. But as you say, I think a lot of people don't kind of think of that after point. They only kind of think up to the birth. So yeah, really good to just get, as you say, just something really nice and comfortable, and just so you can lay it up and lay it down, because the temperature in those hospitals are pretty warm. So something that's good. Fab. Meg.
I'm 26 weeks, which I now know. And this week, Will has started. Well, he's got his first stay on his own preschool session tomorrow. So he did Forest School Monday, and I stayed with him, and then he had a settle-in session this morning just for an hour. And he woke up with we've not had a snotty nose all winter, not a sniffle, not a sneeze, not anything. He woke up this morning literally dried snot. You know, when I'm like, oh my God, why today? And he had such a lovely time that he kicked up the biggest fuss about leaving.
Oh, cool. That's good.
I had to literally manhunt out. I was like, everybody's like, well, this is good. I was like, yes. I'm so glad he's going back tomorrow and I can leave him.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's really good. So
I think you probably want it that way round rather than the other way round, don't you?
Definitely. Yeah. He's gonna have a ball. He's gonna have a great time. So it didn't help that he wasn't feeling very well. So he wasn't feeling very well, and then he had to leave the animals behind that he was playing with, and it was very emotional. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Will be the first time that he's not in the house having a sleep or with Zach through the last year or so. You know.
So which nursery is it going to?
He's going to preschool in Great Brick Hill.
Right, cool.
Yeah, Little Ashes. So because they do the forest school there as well. So
and they have animals.
It was toy animals.
Oh, right, cool.
It just one of the, and that's what he gravitates towards. Like he's just obsessed. So he had these little animals clutching his hand, like, I don't want to leave them.
What can I swap that with?
So that was great. But and hospital bag. I think the best thing I took I repacked I packed my hospital bags I think 4 times, because I packed them first for a natural birth, then I packed them they said that I might have to stay in hospital for 2 weeks before having Will. So I then had packed for 2 weeks stay in hospital pre having a baby. I then unpacked and then packed for like a week, because then they said a week, and then I packed for a cesarean. So, and I had a ridiculous amount of stuff. I was like, we may as well take it. You never know. So Zach had to, carry it all in. But the thing I took that I would definitely 100% be taking again would be, I took battery packs for my phone for charging, because obviously I couldn't get out of bed. So for me, that and Laura, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to, and I didn't know where a charging point would be, and obviously Zach wasn't going to stay with me overnight, that I needed to make sure I had my phone, so if he needed to bring anything in the morning or anything like that, it was charged. So they're literally like little, about that long, and like battery size ones, but they're really, really good and just rechargeable. And the other thing I definitely am going to take this time is a bottle like this with a straw, because I was really good and I drank loads afterwards, but that's so easy. It's just easy to sip and drink with one hand and grab it. Those are my things I'm going to make sure I've definitely got. But
well, and also if you have one of those bottles that sort of tells you how much, you don't have to, that's just one less thing you have to think about of how much, because you're already trying to figure out how many times you've fed and how many wees and how many poos, and just one more thing to go, right, I've drank enough for what time it is. Cool.
The only other thing I was going to say is, obviously Michaela's not here, but I could put it in the WhatsApp group, was just in case either of you are interested or you've used them before or whatever, I use cloth nappies with Will. So if you had ever thought, I wonder what those are, or like anything, then feel free to ask if you ever want to know. It's because it's reusable nappy week this week. I thought, I'll mention that.
I've got a feeling Michaela did use them last time.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
But I can't, that would be a random memory for me to actually have in my head.
We're starting potty training with Will as well at the moment, which is just not.
We're doing the same,
It's not fun. Have you potty trained, or are you?
No, we're trying.
Yeah, me too.
She's just not that keen on it.
Will need that, and Will's well aware. He says I need a wee, but then I say, you need a wee. No, like you just said you need a wee. I was listening to you. Or I need a poo, or my tummy hurts, and then 10 minutes later has a poo. I'm like, he definitely knows. So I don't feel like it's too early, but it's just it's the attitude that goes with it.
Like not willing.
Well, it may be that if he goes to nursery and he sees the bigger kids,
might help. But
that might be the thing that kind of just boosts him to because, as you say, if he's got all the sensations and everything there, it might just actually be enough to just encourage him to be able to actually go. Good evening, Michaela.
He did actually sit on the potties, or at least that was he's now sitting on it.
Good, that's a bonus. We've moved slightly from babies. We're now doing toilet training.
Sorry.
So how's your little girl coping, Laura? Is she knowing when she needs to go, or?
She's not 100% there on knowing when she needs to go. She knows when she's gone.
Yeah.
And I think she would know, but she just gets so into her playing that she's not thinking about it. And then we'll remind her to, do you need a wee? And she'll say no, and then she's done it in her nappy.
Yeah. But again, it's, you know, she's linking the words to actually, you know, so you're reminding her that she does need to go.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be disturbed with her play, but actually, so again, it's still, you know, joining the dots up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, it's frustrating when you
slowly, it's a
There
long
was there was a little girl at the preschool this morning who stood up in front and was telling everybody about it. It's the only reason I know. And her parents made her like a special box, it's literally an Amazon box with some stickers on it, which when she needs the toilet, she puts her toys in there that she's been playing with, and then so they'll stay in there so that when she's finished, she can come back to it. So with the preschool, she obviously doesn't feel like she's going to leave them and somebody else is going to play with them or something. So I thought that was quite clever. I thought that was quite a good one.
Yeah.
We did something similar. We would say like force field, like pause, because my son has a massive sort of FOMO.
Yeah.
So we would just be like pause, and if it's just a home, obviously you can't do that in nursery because no other child is going to like imaginary force field. But that worked quite well for him because he just you know, he's still age 4.5. He still struggles to like pause what he's doing to go to the toilet. But that really helped when he was much younger and starting to kind of because at that point they can't really delay the response very long. They can't hold it for very long.
No,
it just comes. So that was really helpful to him. Just like the play is going to reconsume, like you know, start again when you come back.
Yeah. As you say, this is more urgent. The toys will be exactly where you left it. Yeah. Again, it's learning that sort of thought process that you say it's not going to go anywhere. You can come straight back to where you are. You just need to do this first. So yeah. How are you, Michaela?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Realizing it's harder to make it on time for this cohort of yoga than it was for when I didn't have any other children. So like I don't recall it being sort of difficult to make it on time when I was just me for 7 o'clock, and now I'm like, oh, 7 o'clock, it's right where it's bedtime. But yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. It's a bit frustrated with the scan thing, but other than that, I'm good.
Have you managed to get in touch with anybody at all about it?
It's quite difficult because obviously I still have to manage a job. So a couple of days ago, I sat and like took 2 hours out of my day to sit and just do a jigsaw puzzle and just to keep ringing them. And it just keeps ringing through. Like you ring to one number and they have a voicemail saying, you cannot leave a message for this voicemail. Here's the number to call back. If it's regarding your 12 or 20-week scan, you will get an appointment letter in the post. Anything else, call back on a number. And I've been ringing that number and it just rings through. There's nobody answers. So it's getting to the point. I mean, to be fair, I've not rung a lot, but it's to a point where we're like, are we going to have to email the pals just to get, you know, to get the scan appointment? Because I'm now, tomorrow I'm 20 plus 2. And if it's going to be the same thing again as it was for the 12-week scan, where they're just like, oh, okay, rustle up an appointment. Last time my midwife has just said, oh, we'll just provide you with alternative screening because it's going to fall outside of the 14-week window. I don't know if the anomaly scan is similar, but I'm just thinking about all of these mums who might have something might come up for them where there's a big anomaly and they actually have to make a very tough decision about whether they will terminate or not. If you leave it much longer for some women, they actually, if there's a medical reason for termination, like you actually make it to women. So I'm actually horrified that this is allowed to take such a long time. I mean, they could technically speaking have booked me in at my 12-week scan. They could have booked me in for my 20-week.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think that's,
at least if you had a date, even if it was a little later, you know, than you'd prefer, but at least if you had a date, you'd know you weren't forgotten.
I know I would be seen, but at this point it's actually, I'm thinking, how much of a notice am I going to get for this appointment? And being self-employed and working with people who are you know, mentally vulnerable, I can't really like, oh right, so they're going to give me an appointment tomorrow, cancel all my clients, and it's actually really financially difficult for me to do that. So I'm actually quite miffed that they can't just say, sorry, we're running late on our clinics, you're going to get an appointment at 22 weeks. Fine.
Yeah.
At this point, it's going to be less than 2 weeks notice regardless of what they do.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I don't know whether it's worth speaking to your GP and just seeing if it's possible for them to follow it up, just because they might have different ways of being able to contact the right people.
I don't know. The midwife said that they have no say in it. They can't even see on the system if there is an appointment booked. They can't do anything. When I asked her about it, she was like, yeah, you just call the ultrasound department. She won't even chase it for me.
You're joking. So I go to your GP and just say, I've spoken to my midwife. She can't help me with it. Maybe you can, and just say it's past the time now, and I need to get this sorted out. Yeah, as I say, I spoke to my midwife friend, but unfortunately, because she's with Stoke, she couldn't be of any sort of help either. But she just said that it's suddenly gone absolutely insane with the amount of people she's booking in, and she's like, she's never been so busy. Not that it's an excuse. Well, we were saying, all of us said at the beginning of lockdown, there's going to be more babies. So I don't know why they haven't kind of come up with a cunning plan for this, but I guess it's staff at the end of the day. If they've not got the staff trained, they can't offer extra appointments and things like that. So, but yeah, maybe try your GP tomorrow and just see what they would recommend. At least you've logged it again on a system to say, I'm trying to get through, I can't get through. It might just be, as I say, just a different avenue to be able to go through.
It's just difficult because I don't want to make myself uncomfortable or complain if it seems to be that every single woman at L&D is now being behind, then making a complaint is not going to solve the issue in any way. But last time we were scanned by someone who wasn't even working there, who'd made it very clear to us that she'd picked up an extra shift and come in, and she forgot to print out my my growth thing, or she didn't hand me my notes. I only received my green, the maternity health notes at 18 weeks, I think it was. The midwife came to my house to deliver because they were like, "Oh, really sorry, you've not been given the notes before." Because I've been shamed several times when I come to my appointments. They're like, "Where are your notes?" I'm like, "Not been given any." So so at least they kind of did the hand deliver, because obviously I live centrally in Leighton Buzzard, so it's not exactly that hard to come by. But yeah, it's just all very strange, and because it's affecting one hospital so much and not the other ones, because you guys don't.
That's what's so strange. No, and I got given my notes before 12 weeks, which again freaked me out. I was a bit more the other way, like, oh, this all feels a little bit like let's not presume anything just yet. So, I had the opposite, and I've had in my mind, I had an unnecessary visit to Stoke for a consultation, which definitely I could have had over the phone. But I've only just seen my midwife for the first time since 10 weeks, last week, or the week before. So my midwife, I bet.
You have your bloods and things like that as well, because that seems to have been.
Yeah,
it took 8 weeks. Took them 8 weeks to get back, and then they said, "Oh, really sorry, it was incomplete, so we don't have any. Like, take it again, because someone forgot to label your test tube or something."
Oh my god! Mine came back really quickly. Like, seemed faster than last time, but then I wasn't waiting for them this time. Whereas last time, I think I was like, "They're coming."
Yeah, it's just all so weird. It's such a discrepancy in how long it takes, and it's just these kind of things to make you go a bit, with the journey that you have through the healthcare system. And because I had quite a sort of difficult time with it last time, I'm really wary of engaging with health professionals, hence why I'm hoping to have a home birth and not see them as much as possible, which these kind of experiences don't exactly make it feel more reassuring.
No, well, it doesn't give you confidence, does it, that you're going to be well looked after, if they can't even send you a message to say, sorry, these are delayed, we will be with you as soon as possible. Just even being able to send a text message out, I'm sure they can do that, and just sort of just do a send to all kind of thing we're really sorry, we will be in touch, we have not forgotten you, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's none of that. There's no contact with the midwives. My iron levels were quite low, and the midwife's like, well, yeah, we'll put you on some iron tablets, and I kind of expressed concerns about that, because from a gut point of view, it's not. I was like, well, I'm already constipated. I don't really want to take more of that, and they're like, oh no, we'll put in your laxatives. So, right. So I'm gonna add more and decrease more, and so I've just haven't. So they've just been yeah, and then they weren't very clear about, so where do I get those the tablets from? And I turned up for my midwife appointment to take those new bloods again, and at that point I expressed that the first midwife I saw at 8 weeks told me, you can't have a home birth, you had a hemorrhage in your last birth. And I was like, well, I had a small bleed. No one kind of raised an eyelid about that, or raised an eyebrow at the time. But now you're saying that it was such a serious bleed that I'm going to be at risk of bleeding out in my next time, is what she said. So I had a 600 ml hemorrhage, and that's actually below the guideline, which is 1,000 ml is where they don't allow you to have a home birth. And she was like, can't have a home birth, need to speak to consultant, need to be consultancy-led care. I'm like, what? Yeah. So 2 months later, when I finally spoke to the consultant on the phone, she was like really warm and reassuring, said, no, there's absolutely no need. Your midwife's strong. It's 1,000 ml. You can have your home birth. Don't need to be consultant-led. Bye-bye. Went back to tell the midwives. They just refused to acknowledge that they've said, that they've done anything wrong. And they just said, well, I've told that midwife several times that it's not 500 ml, it's 1,000. But no apology, no acknowledgement of how that's left me stressed for 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's not having a great start, if I'm really honest. So that's why I'm quite glad that I don't have to see them very often.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you thought about moving to a different hospital?
I
still get the same midwives, unfortunately, because it's
my sister wanted a home birth, and she was with Milton Keynes Hospital. And she was absolutely adamant she wanted a home birth. So she dealt with the home birth team with Milton Keynes Hospital, and she said they were fantastic. Every time she had to deal with the hospital, with consultants and everything, they did the same thing that the midwives did to you, and were very, oh, you need a C-section, you need this. It was like, you need a C-section, you can't have a home birth. Whereas when she spoke to the midwife, the home birth team was she said they were so supportive, and she still had one of them when she gave birth. She had to give birth in hospital because they were worried he was big. And just in case, she just made the decision. She went, okay, I'll go with, at least if I'm at the hospital. But she said that she had the same midwife or the part of the team, and she said they were fantastic. She said she would 100% next time, she wouldn't hesitate. She would go with them purely for the fact that she got those people to help her. Even if she then ended up at hospital, they were still then her postnatal. I think maybe it wasn't in the hospital, maybe it was more the postnatal shoots. Then they came to see her and things, and she said the support she's got from there.
That's really good, because there's also this confusion of how sort of late and busted midwives make you believe that you have to be L&D if you want to have a home birth, which is also not true. Which I found out afterwards, after a friend of mine was planning a home birth, and she was Milton Keynes, I think, and another one was Stoke Mandeville. So it's not true that they just admin wise prefer that to be the case, because the home birth midwives are connected to L&D. So it feels like it's one of those things that you don't want them to spit in your food. So I'm going to just wait until I've had this blood scan, and then I'm considering moving, and just figuring out how hard that is to do admin wise. And I guess it's a little bit sort of better the devil is what I thought, because I know L&D. I've been there obviously with my previous
exactly, yeah.
But also we went there postnatally that's where my son's allergy hospital was before I moved his care to London, because that was just really, really shocking pediatric care as well. So I just don't have the best associations with L&D, so I don't really know what I went for again, but it was just the midwife saying that's what the home birth can be. So
there's just another thing to consider. If you have got Kathy as your doula, I don't know whether she would be able to change hospitals.
I'd imagine I will obviously have to do it. I'm sure she will tell me how to do it.
No, but whether she will be able to be with you at a different hospital.
I think she can go to any hospital. I mean, it might have changed, but that's what we discussed 5 years ago
Okay.
when she was going to do that for me. That she said there's no, she's more linked to L&D, but she would support me in any hospital. So I'll
Okay,
double
cool.
check that with her, because
Yeah, as I say, just
difference.
yeah, you just don't want to sort of swap and then her say, oh well, I can't do it if you're there.
No, I think she can do any, and again, I'm hoping to have home birth, but again, it
Yeah.
depends on what they say, and it's so hard with all of these things. Oh, baby's measuring big and so on, and then they just come out pretty completely normal. I just don't trust growth scans because the margin of error is so vast,
Yeah.
and the bundle height thing is just a lot of bollocks. So
Yeah.
it just doesn't. I mean, I was told I was measuring big so many times and had several growth scans, and he came out 7 pound 3 when he was 10 days overdue. So that's as well as they're going to get cooked, and he
Yeah.
was still no more than 7 pound 3. So I just don't think I make huge babies.
No. I think there's sort of culture influences in all of that of yes, big babies, and because a lot of women like having extra scans and stuff like that it starts just being offered, and then in some cases, but I've never had people having. I've had maybe one or two people that I've taught in sort of this capacity having like 11-pound babies. So it's quite rare to what I would class as a big baby compared to what they class as a big baby.
Yes.
And again, I'm sure they've done all the research and stuff like that. But yes, it's interesting how when I have my two, under 10 pound wasn't classed as big, and now anything over, like as you say, 7-8 pound is classed as, so they've changed the goalpost. And
it's very weird.
How big was your baby, Laura?
Sorry?
How big was your baby?
She was only 6 pounds, but she was 2 weeks early.
Ah, yeah.
So.
And were they saying concerns about her being small then instead?
No.
You disappeared a bit. Were you there?
Sorry. I think my internet's going. I think I'm back.
Yes, you are. Cool. I'm going to get on because otherwise we're going to run out of time. So I will start. I've got a lovely picture to show you. It's one of my favouriteest pictures I've ever found. Aren't you lucky? So you can kind of probably guess. Where am I? This one, I think it is. Hopefully I don't have the trouble that I had last week with that stupid thing that pops down. Look at that picture! I love it! It's actually a birthday cake. How insane is that for a birthday cake?
Would not make me want to eat that. Not gonna lie.
I know. It's like, why? Yeah, but as I say, I found it and just thought it was absolutely brilliant. So yes, we're doing pelvic floors. Hooray! And your pelvic floor doesn't look like that. So there we go. So yeah, as I say, did I share? I don't think I sent the last one to you guys. I will send it to you. I've done the WhatsApp group, so one thing a week, but I will try and share this with you. Obviously, there's a lot of sort of terminology on here that you really don't need to know. I mean, half of these words I can't even pronounce. But the one that we are kind of looking at is across here we have our big central tendons.
Yeah.
And then we've got tendons and muscles that kind of go around this figure of 8, around the anus and around sort of the front part of the pelvic floor. And this point right in the middle is our perineum. So that's, I normally get people, we do a whole thing with scarves and stuff like that, but basically one is wrapped around the other. So when we look at doing pelvic floor exercises, if we move, say this is our sit bone, then our whole kind of pelvic floor, particularly that perineum, moves to one side. And then if we move the sit bones to the other side, and then you've got, obviously, if you're moving front to back, you have that same kind of movement in this area, but this is a very kind of thick, yeah, as I say, where kind of all these tendons meet. So it's quite a thick area, which is why if you're looking at vaginal birth, it is definitely worth doing perineal massage. There's been quite a lot of research on perineal massage and the effects of it. But I would definitely look into perineal massage. I've got a printout that I might be able to send you. I was looking at, sorry, to change the subject slightly. I was looking at dates today, and if everything's going okay, we might be able to do the final 2 sessions in the studio. So hopefully we can have our pamper night, which is usually our final session. So we can do that. Yes, and we'll have one other session, fingers crossed, in the studio. So we were working out the rest of the year. And yeah, it looks like, as I say, as long as everything goes well, we should be able to do that. So you can see on Virginia, I'll put it the right way, same way up as the picture as well. So yeah, I don't know if you can see, but there is quite that kind of really strong set of muscles here. So when we're looking at doing pelvic floor movements, this is the strength of the pelvic floor. So if you imagine, there's not a lot of bone underneath this for obvious reasons, but that means that there's not a lot of support. So these tendons that go around here are the things that basically kind of cross at the bottom and hold a lot of the pelvic floor up. So when they talk, you know, when you see kind of classic, and say it was on the NHS website that I saw a couple of weeks ago about trying to stop your wee mid-flow. So where your wee comes out is that tiny little bit all the way up there compared to all of this muscular structure. So in my mind, it just doesn't make sense to say about stopping a wee, because there's very little muscle structure in that area that would help the rest of the pelvic floor. So I would definitely say that you're wanting to kind of think about stopping a fart or a poo is going to be more useful, because there's a lot more muscular structure around that area than there is this tiny little area there. And if you work this area, then it will work forwards and have an effect. Whereas if you work the front area, it doesn't affect backwards. So you are very much working just one very small part of the pelvic floor rather than being able to work on all of it. There's 3 layers of pelvic floor. So there's a base layer, and then there's 2 more layers sort of structurally inside. But this kind of just gives you a good idea of actually how much pressure gets put on your pelvic floor during pregnancy. So pelvic floor health is a lot to do with pregnancy. Obviously, birth does have an effect, but because you have relaxin, progesterone in your system that makes everything a little bit softer and a little bit looser, you can imagine the weight of baby on that pelvic floor. As I say, it does have an effect. So it's worth looking after your pelvic floor, and that's just kind of just a similar sort of idea that is where our pelvic floor kind of naturally sits, and it drops down quite a lot when we're in later pregnancy. And you can also see
bladder.
A little bladder. Where's the space for your bladder? No wonder you're constantly weeing. There is literally no space for bladder. And
not there's any space for baby to come out either. I mean, I've been through this. I know it actually is physically possible, but I'm still looking at that and I'm like, but how? How did that come out?
But this, your bowels, obviously, as baby comes out, they get very well compressed, which is why a lot of women have fear of pooing whilst giving birth. And I would say don't have a fear about it. The midwives are very, very, very used to it. and they are very, very good at subtly cleaning and tidying everything away that they need to. And it's more, in some ways, if you're relaxed in that area enough to let poo come out, then you're much more likely to be relaxed in that area to let baby come out. So I would definitely not hold on to having a poo if that's what you need to, because the likelihood is that means that all of your pelvic floor is going to be tensing. So yes, let it all come out, and yes, as I say, they're well trained for it. So as I say, I'll send this to you so you can read a little bit more. But basically, it's sort of talking about, it's not just about having that a strong, tight pelvic floor. You want to be able to use it the same as any muscle. You wouldn't hold, say, your jaw clamped shut for hours and hours and hours and think, oh, this is really comfortable. You want to be able to relax that muscle and that structure to be able to let the mouth and the structure move, to let things out as well. So yes, if you struggle with the release of pelvic floors, definitely practice while you're on the toilet, particularly if you are constipated. Perfect time to practice releasing and relaxing your pelvic floor muscles. And I'm sure, I know, Michaela, I'm sure you've seen this one before, but let me grab a chair very quickly. So when you're on the toilet, particularly if you're constipated, try not to kind of be sat here, because you're actually closing down your pelvic floor when you're sat here. If you can, preferably leaning forwards makes this all much more open and much more able to open. But if you can get something underneath your feet that lifts your knees above your hips, so there's a sphincter. Can I go back into, so yes, so there's sphincter 1, which is your pelvic floor, but there's another sphincter up here as well. And if you don't have your knees lifted up, then only one opens fully. So squat toilets are actually much more healthy for our bowel and colon health. So if you're struggling, definitely sort of think squat toilet, and try and kind of recreate that at home, that you try and lift these feet up as much as possible. Obviously, you're not going to be kind of going, oh, this isn't working. Well, have something underneath your feet so you can actually rest your legs down and still be in a relaxed position. But same kind of, that's the same principle that they use for if you are having a natural birth. They sort of talk about bringing your legs up, and they'll put your legs in stirrups and stuff. It's the same kind of concept, because it just helps all those sphincters relax a little bit more. But the problem with this position is you're lying on your tailbone, and your tailbone, us ladies have the amazing ability to be able to move our tailbone out of the way during birth. And actually the pelvis, this pelvis doesn't move, it's all screwed together, but the back of the pelvis can actually expand, and the sacrum and the tailbone move to fill that space. And there's an amazing picture a couple of years ago on Facebook, and you can actually, I can't remember the name of it, there's a special name of it, but you can actually see this lady's tailbone kind of really raised and lifted up as baby's head comes through. But if we sit on that, it's got nowhere to go. So it's really worth remembering that you want to try and avoid putting that pressure on the back of the pelvis during a natural labor as much as possible. And when we were talking about last week about doing the breathing and using the strength of the contractions and the diaphragm pressing onto the uterus, if we're in this position, we're aiming again down towards the perineum and the anus, which don't have so much stretch. If we turn it and we're in this position, it's aiming very much more towards the front and towards the vagina instead. So yeah, if at all possible, try to resist the urge of sitting on your tailbone, particularly during the pushing stage, but you know, whilst you're laboring full stop, because baby's got to get down and through there. And if you're blocking that whole area and not giving them the space that they could have, it's going to just be a harder journey for them to be able to come through, and it's going to be more work for you. So side lying, if you're absolutely exhausted, or you know, they've suggested that you need to stay on a bed for monitoring, ask if you can lie on your side instead. And it shouldn't make any difference to them monitoring, because you're still nice and quiet and things like that. But it does give this freedom in the pelvis that tailbone can open up. And it's more regular than you would think that people postnatally have actually broken tailbones, because they've been sat in that position, and basically baby's head just keeps on pushing on the tailbone until one or the other gives, and it will usually be the tailbone, because the idea is baby needs to come out. So yeah, if possible, really try and kind of think about being in any other position apart from resting on the back of the pelvis. We talked about last week about the fact that when we deep breathe, we actually affect our pelvic floor as well. So when we take a deep breath in, our pelvic floor naturally releases and softens. And as we breathe out, it naturally has a lifting effect to the pelvic floor. But as I say, classic Kegels, there's so much more that we can do that actually just gets this whole area moving and stretching all of those parts, rather than just those classic, let's pull them up, see how long we can hold them for, and then release. There's so much more that we can do. And it's stuff that you'll be looking out for it, but I've snuck into the last couple of weeks without you noticing. So the problem with a lot of pelvic floor issues is that the most likelihood is that you will be told, oh, you leak, that's normal, you've got a weak pelvic floor.
Oh, is that just Rocky? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
No, not me.
We're all fine. Oh no.
Disappear.
It's just frozen.
We'll see. She'll come back in a minute, I'm sure. There we go. She'll go and she'll come back.
Ah, she got
Have either of you guys had issues with pelvic floors from the last pregnancy or not? Have you?
Not so much in terms of like leaking or anything, but I have a kind of too tight pelvic floor.
Yeah.
I didn't realize before the birth, but after sort of postnatally, when I saw a women's health physio, I realized that. So that's why I'm quite keen to learn some of the exercises for the release, as well as the sort of the strengthening.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
She's back.
Are you here, Rocky?
Oh, we can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Like a ghost moving the cursor, but that's.
I'm on mute. That's
There we
fine.
go. So I thought you've logged back in and you're on mute.
Yeah, no, it just cut out on me and then signed me straight back in again.
Yeah.
Well, no idea what happened there. Yes, so I don't know where I got to, but yes, basically there are quite a few similarities between having a very strong pelvic floor and a weak pelvic floor. The problem is as I say, most people, if you talk to them and say, oh, something leaked, they'll just go, oh, you need to do more pelvic floor exercises, which really isn't helpful if you've got a very strong pelvic floor. And until you kind of go to a women's physio, as I think Michaela was just saying, it's really hard to know yourself. you know, because you're just going from the symptoms that you've got. But yeah, it's definitely worth, if you struggle with pelvic floor, it's definitely worth going to the lovely lady called Jo Dyson, who works out of St Jude's Clinic. And she's brilliant, and she can assess pelvic floor tone, because the other thing that can happen is that you can have one side of your pelvic floor very strong and one side of your pelvic floor very weak. because if your hips are slightly wonky, or you always do your pelvic floor exercises when you're waiting at the bus stop, and you're waiting at the bus stop and you're always like this, then one side of the pelvic floor will have to work stronger than the other side when you're doing them. So you end up with an imbalance in your pelvic floor. So just when you're doing, I'm not saying that Kegels are bad. Kegels are useful, but I just wouldn't rely on them completely. As I say, there's just so many other things that we can do to keep our pelvic floor in good health. And it doesn't have to just rely on those very classic Kegels that were created by a bloke.
I don't know if this was discussed. I think, Michaela, you might have mentioned it. Can you have your pelvic floor assessed while you're pregnant?
I can't imagine why not, unless Michaela can think of,
I was just going to ask the same thing, so
yeah,
the answer.
Stress incontinence is something I've never had an issue with until last week. So it's I want to have it in mind. If I think, okay, this is an issue now, I want to know why.
Yeah, well, and also to make sure that you're doing the right
thing
for it, rather than doing the wrong thing for it and making it worse.
As
I say, I can't imagine of any reason why, but I would definitely give Jo a shout, and she'll be able to answer. And she's on Facebook,
I've spoken to her quite a lot in the past. I've seen her.
So she'd be more than happy to answer that as a quick question. If you can't get hold of her, I'm sure St Jude's would be able to answer it. If you phone the reception at St Jude's, they'd be able to answer the question as well. As I say, I can't imagine that there would be any reason why not.
No.
But yeah, I can't answer for a definite. So when we're looking at sort of things about a lot of people are struggling with hips at the moment as well. And so again, just because when we hold these muscles tight, they actually change the structure and how we stand, which then can exacerbate other problems as well. So that's why I say we want to just keep that balance of being able to get that elasticity and tone into the pelvic floor, rather than just hold and hope for the best. Cool. So obviously, I think that you guys probably know more about your pelvic floor than if you were first-time mums. So I mean, they sort of talk about being able to find it, and as I say, the idea is that you want, when you're doing those classic Kegels, you want to imagine that you're drawing both the sit bones towards each other. So they talk about closing the lift doors, but also the front and back coming in towards each other as well. So it's that whole area. But as I say, I would keep your focus more on the anus than on the urethra. So yeah, don't rely on just because you can stop a wee mid-flow. Doesn't mean the rest of your pelvic floor is healthy and strong or elastic. But I love this little image of, I'd never come across pelvic floors as jellyfish before, but I do think it's a really nice idea that you kind of lift up and then you release and relax and you lift up. I think it's just quite a nice kind of image. You can almost imagine it kind of, and it's not, there's ligaments that tether it to the spine, but it is quite a single entity on its own. It's not, it's not as reliant on other muscular structures as a lot of the body is. So I will leave you with jellyfish. But as I say, I just thought that was quite a nice image that worked for me. So is there any questions about pelvic floor? Yes.
I'm wondering, I'm confused about when you lift and when you release, because I thought it was the other way to what the jellyfish picture said, that when you breathe in, as in, I thought you were supposed to lift when you breathe out.
Yeah, so there's a difference between pelvic floor exercises that you practice during pregnancy and pelvic floor exercises that you practice postnatally.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh Lord,
Which one am I supposed to be doing
Blimey.
now?
To be fair, I teach them the same way throughout, because in my head it makes a lot more sense that when we breathe out, the pelvic floor naturally lifts. So
That's
why
what I
wouldn't we
thought.
use
Yeah.
that natural
You
lift?
work with the
That's
diaphragm.
why I was just thinking that from those photos that
I think the idea is that what they are sort of talking about is actually it's putting pressure on the pelvic floor while still trying to lift up. So it's kind of just it's like putting extra weights on doing your pelvic floor.
Okay.
But as I say, to me, it doesn't really make sense in my mind why you would go against what your body's naturally doing anyway. Why would you work against your body to be able to get a good effect? So that's why I teach them all the same. But as I say, I know I've read a couple of things, and I think it's more of a European thing, because it's a couple of my friends have written books over lockdown recently about women's health. Bless them, they've asked me to review them, and and they've sort of sent me extra copies, and I've noticed in both of theirs they've mentioned it, but it's the first time that I've heard about it. So I don't know whether it's a European thing or whether it's new research. I should get in touch with, actually. I'll get in touch with Suzanne, because I know she's definitely got it in her new book. And I can maybe she can point me in the right direction of if it is new research. I can at least read up about it. But as I say, it's quite a new thing that I've come across recently. And yeah, I can kind of, as I say, I can understand the thinking behind it, but for me it feels a bit like, going to yoga to sweat. I don't go to yoga to sweat. I go to yoga to chill out, but I know lots of people do go to yoga to sweat. So it may be just a difference of people trying to make it harder.
It makes sense. I mean, I'm just trying to think of what, because I've been working with a personal trainer for over a year, and she does mainly, well, she only does women. And because it's obviously thinking about how you can help your core in a lot of the exercises we do. So we do like deadlifts or quite heavy weights, then we use the breath in that way. And we would absolutely have an out breath, and that's when you then lift and contract, whatever core muscles I had before I got pregnant. And it feels really counterintuitive to do it the other way around.
Yeah, because if you're filling up that area because the diaphragm's pushing down, then you're not going to be able to get the strength from the core to be able to then lift the heavy weight. You're relaxing those muscles on an inhale. So as I say, I will try and look into it a bit further and see if there is, as I say, maybe Suzanne can recommend something that she's read of why she's put it in the book. But I know she's got a difference in the book. She says for pregnancy, do it the way that I've always been taught, and she says postnatally and for perimenopausal to do it the way that the jellyfish have just shown. So I will check with her, but it's not something I did in my Well Woman training. We did them the way that I've always been taught.
Different for just for say the pushing stage, just simply because obviously when you then release your breath, you think that when we do sort of breathing exercises within mindfulness meditation, on the out breath is normally when you feel relaxed. That's where you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and automatically I then raise my pelvic floor. So I wonder if you do that when you try to have an out breath and then you raise your pelvic floor, that's not necessarily helpful in like pushing the baby out. So I don't know if it's different for that stage there. That makes you, how do you then release and let the baby out so you don't just go squeeze?
I don't know is the answer to that.
You stumped her on pelvic floors.
You have stumped me on pelvic floor. I'm going to go and have to research pelvic floor for the weekend. Yeah, because, well, I mean, yeah, the idea is that neither breath is going to be to stop you relaxing the pelvic floor. You know, particularly sort of, as you say, during the pushing stage, because you want that to be a very gentle stage. So you're breathing very gently through that stage is what you're aiming for. Although, again, classically, you know, in call the midwife is normally a lot better. But yes, one born every minute is definitely a. And as you say, then if you're exhaling strongly and you've practiced lifting up on your pelvic floor, then you're just going, both ends are closing down. I will come back to you on that one.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of difficult with some of these like kind of breaths, because they will just stress me out because it's hyperventilating. Whereas when I think about relaxing, I do really long out breaths.
Yeah, I've never understood that. I've never understood that real short. I know it's natural.
So I think the reason that they do the puffing breath is to stop you holding your breath and using that diaphragm as that pushing down feeling. So when you huff and puff, you can't put too much pressure on your pelvic floor whilst you're doing it. And I think a lot of people would, it's probably easier to concentrate on rather than, because I think people might get distracted in a long breath.
Hold it and then be okay, that makes sense.
So I think it's more of a
whatever works for you in that moment. If you forget to breathe, then someone go, especially like your birth partner, you can then mirror what they're doing. But if you actually, for me, that would feel really triggering, like as if I'm having an asthma attack. That's why I found the gas and air really difficult, because I had to breathe faster with the gas and air than the breathing rhythm I've been using when I was laboring at home. And when I came to hospital, like, take a puff of that. No, faster. I'm like, what? No.
Why would they tell you to take it faster?
They were showing me what's a rhythm to breathe with the gas and air, and all I remember is like, this is not the rhythm I've been using for like 5 hours at home. I can't do it. So I said, I felt uncomfortable. It felt like I was having like an asthma attack.
Yeah. No, because then it will make you feel lightheaded.
Yeah.
And then it will make you feel sick, and you won't want to use the gas and air. So that doesn't, again,
like 2 puffs of it, and they said, no, it's faster than that. And I said, I can't do it faster than that. I didn't want it.
That's really interesting, because a couple of years ago, we had a lady who used to teach kids how to do take gas and air. As she was one of the nurses at the hospital, pediatric nurse. One of her jobs was how to teach the kids how to take gas. And she always said, you take one long inhale in, you take the mouthpiece out, and you slowly exhale out. You want to take that breath deep into the body so it has more of an effect.
That's what I would think. Surely deep breath is better.
No.
I can't remember, because at that point, I guess you were sort of, I've gone so deep inside myself. So when they were sort of showing me how to do things, that wasn't like the rhythm I've been using for a long time. I recall feeling really panicked by it, not liking it.
Well, again, it doesn't make sense to me why they would have said that to you.
Do midwives carry gas and air for home birth as well?
Sorry?
Do midwives carry gas and air for home birth?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that they can offer you for home birth, but gas and air is definitely one of them. And they deliver it. I think they deliver it with your birthing packs. So they deliver that early, and you have that with you, as far as I know. And then sort of the stronger stuff they'll bring with them. But yes,
I just presumed that there would be no strong stuff whatsoever if you were doing it at home.
Yeah, no, they'll have. They should be able. Yeah, I mean,
pethidine, can't they? Can they give you pethidine?
I'm pretty sure they can do pethidine. I think that's the highest kind of level that they can go to. So, but check with your midwives, because it might be different to which hospital to which version of pethidine they offer as well. So it might be worth just looking into what they can offer you, and then at least you know what your choices are. Cool. Fab. So any other pelvic floor questions that you're not going to try and stump me with?
No.
I'm going to be thinking about that all class now. I'm going to be like, oh, why is that? But I love it because it just makes you question, what you've kind of been taught. So you just go, right, okay, as usual, I'm going to mute you guys, but do feel free to unmute yourselves, chat to me, but come down to a comfortable lying down position. So, we are going to be doing side lying as one of our first movements. So if that makes a difference to how you have your relaxation, then you have that knowledge now. But obviously you can rearrange yourselves onto a side lying position at the start of the movement part. So take your time. Allow yourself to be truly comfortable. If you're happy to do so, gently closing your eyes. Imagine in front of you, you've got a whiteboard. And you can write whatever words, whatever symbols, numbers, anything that comes into your head. Imagine writing that on the whiteboard. And you feel ready to. Just take a moment, notice what you have placed on that whiteboard, and then choose. Is there some of the things that you've written, can you just rub them out and just gently let go of them? Those things that you would like to keep on there, then that's absolutely fine. But what we are going to do is we're going to turn the whiteboard over. So you know that those thoughts are there for you to be able to return to later. But for the moment, there's space. Allow your focus to gently rest on your breath. Imagine as you breathe in, imagine bringing fresh, positive energy into your body and down to your baby. Imagine the exhale gently takes away any used negative energy. Every inhalation, bringing fresh energy, that energy flowing through the whole of your body. And the exhale, taking away any tension, releasing old energy. After your next exhale, just allow the breathing to return to normal. And just resting for a moment of not doing, a moment of just being the perfect person you are. Gently finding a kind way of starting to widen your awareness back out. Maybe it's a wiggling of fingers or toes. Maybe it's just gently opening the eyes and noticing your surroundings. When you do feel awake and aware enough, and just gently bringing yourself into a side lying position. You can have a cushion underneath your head if you want to. If you haven't got a cushion close, then you can use the top of your arm, or maybe you can rest the head on the hand. It doesn't matter as long as your head is comfortable. And then this top knee, you're going to bring your hand onto that top knee, and you're just going to circle that leg as wide as you can. So if it feels an area that you're taking care of today, it could be maybe smaller circles. If it feels okay, let it be big circles. Try and really relax the leg into the hand. So the hand is the thing that's doing the work. You're really relaxing around that hip joint, the top of the thigh. Good. And at some point, gently change in direction. So bring this leg so it's by the side of your body. So you're hugging this thigh in towards the belly. So you're going to inhale and you're going to draw the leg in. And you'll exhale and you soften the leg and soften the pelvic floor. Inhale to gently draw the thigh in. exhale to soften and relax. Good. Good. So the pelvic floor is connected in with our inner thigh muscles. So if we have, I've got a new client that actually that Joe recommended to me, that's got a very painful vulva, and her inner legs are so tight because she's constantly just holding these legs together because everything hurts her, and her inner thighs are so tight, bless her. And yeah, if we're feeling any sort of pain or any discomfort in this area, that's what we do. We clench our legs together and we try and hold them. So learning to be able to relax these inner thigh muscles helps us to learn to relax the pelvic floor as well, and helps the pelvic floor to relax itself. So really feel that as you're exhaling, you're softening, relaxing the inner thigh, relax the pelvic floor. Good. And then slowly releasing that leg down. We're going to roll over to the other side. So it could be that you just swap ends, which is what I'm going to do so I can keep an eye on you guys. But it could be that you just roll over to the other side. So whichever you're more comfortable with. When you feel ready to, holding that top knee with the hand, letting the hand be the thing that does the work as you start to circle the thigh on this side. Again, maybe this side feels a bit more sensitive, a bit more tight or tense. So maybe you make the circle smaller. This side may feel more relaxed and more at ease. So it may be that you can take those circles bigger. At some point, gently changing direction, still trying to keep that thigh bone really nice and relaxed. And gently drawing the thigh in towards the side of the body. So inhaling to draw that thigh in. Inhale to release and relax. Good. So just let that leg go just arm length away. So again, we're still relaxing this top leg. We're trying not to put any extra energy into this top leg. We're keeping that nice and relaxed. Let the arm be the thing that does the work. Good. Lovely. And gently releasing that thigh and just pausing on your side for a breath, just noticing how your hips feel. And we feel ready to, we're going to rearrange ourselves onto all-fours. So we're going to do a movement that's not too easy to show on Zoom because it's a very small movement. It's not easy to show in a classroom either. But what we want to do is we're going to do very small circles. So we want to sort of focus on our tailbone here. And we want to just very small circles. So we're really honing in on this pelvic floor muscles. We're trying not to use the glutes and the big muscles that support around the pelvis. We want a very small circle. So my teacher says, imagine putting a pencil up your bottom and a piece of paper behind your bum and trying to draw circles. So if that helps at all with your visualization, I'm not sure it helps relax your pelvic floor if you have that image. But if that image helps you, then please use it. But as I say, you might not be able to see it, but it's very small kind of almost the smaller that you can make them, the better. So it's not kind of, we don't want the whole of the belly to be moving. We don't want kind of this movement. It's really small, and we're really trying to isolate those, the pelvic floor around the tailbone muscles as much as possible. So you can do it on forearms if you want to. So if wrists are an issue, you can come down onto forearms. That would be fine. When you're ready to, really small, gentle circles with the tailbone. The smaller and slower you go, the better elasticity and tone you'll bring into that pelvic floor. Good. Yeah. Try and keep the shoulders relaxed, the jaw relaxed. Good. And then gently changing direction. You're going to just gently pause. You're going to turn your toes under. If you can, try and get your little toe onto the mat as well. And then you're going to exhale, and you're going to gently take the hips back towards the heels. So you can take the knees wide if that's more comfortable to do so, but you're going to exhale, and you really want to feel that tailbone again stretching, lengthening down towards the heels. And then you gently tuck the tailbone under, and you slowly come up. So it's a small kind of very small cat-cow curl, the tiniest cat-cow curl with the release of the tailbone back. And then gently tuck the tailbone and slowly come forward. Yeah, good. So imagine as you're lifting the tailbone, you're sending the tailbone back, you're creating that space in the pelvic floor. And as you're tucking the tailbone, you're bringing it towards the front of the pelvis. And so you're shortening the pelvic floor. So just this movement, you're lengthening the pelvic floor as the tailbone lifts. And you're shortening the pelvic floor as you gently tuck the tailbone. Good. Lovely. Good. Next time you're on all fours, just turn the toes back under and take the hips back into child's pose. Allow the hips to release and relax. If this is uncomfortable, then you can keep the hips slightly higher and rest on forearms instead. So just see how baby's lying today. If it's more comfortable to have a little bit more space by having the hips slightly higher, then please do so. That was really funny, Meg. I was reading my class plan, trying to figure out what I'd written, and looking up, and I was like, oh no, that's it. That's what we're going to do next. So from here, either forearms down. Forearms down is quite nice to do. So if you fancy doing that, then you can. If you prefer being on hands, then you can do that. But we're going to take one leg out to the side. Preferably, you're placing the whole of that foot onto the mat. So try not to be kind of on the inside of the foot. Try and really stretch that foot out to the side. And then you're going to exhale, and you're going to take the hips back towards the back heel. Good. And you'll inhale, and you'll come up. And you'll Exhale, and you'll gently release. As always, take it nice and steady. Check how it feels. The aim of it is to have a nice stretch and lengthening from the inner thigh. So maybe you feel it there, maybe you don't. Good. Next time you're coming up, slowly releasing that leg, and you're going to swap sides. So you'll take your other leg out again. Try and see if you can get the foot flat on the mat rather than the inner arch being on the mat. And if it feels okay, just gently, slowly taking the hips back towards the heel. Good. Laura, just make sure you're not going to go in the splits if your socks are a bit slippy. You look as if that leg's going to go further and further away from you. Cool. And it feels about equal on this side as you did on the other side. Then gently coming back to release the leg and rest back down into a child's pose of your choice. When you do rest in child's pose, feel the pelvis softening, relaxing down towards the mat. It's still cramping, Meg.
I'm just having real issues with cramp at the moment everywhere,
Yeah.
but it's just like the front of my shin on this leg has decided today. Yeah, it just feels like it's going to go into cramp. So
That's quite a hard one to stretch, but there is a stretch for it. So if you do your wide,
yeah,
and then see if you can lift your knees off the mat, so you get quite a strong stretch through the front of the shins there. Too much?
no, it felt like it was going to cramp. That's why.
Really, yeah, it's a really hard place to stretch, because when I was doing my marathon training, I really struggled with it, and that's the only stretch that I could find anywhere on the internet to stretch the front of my shins.
I just felt cramp in my foot though then, so the other side. Honestly, I woke myself up in the middle of the night the other night.
Oh, bless
because
you.
I got cramp in my hamstring.
Do you take magnesium at all?
I'm using magnesium cream. I'm taking a multivitamin, but I'm using magnesium cream to help with restless legs. So I don't think I could get much more magnesium in me.
No,
and calcium as well, because that's supposed to be.
Yeah. If you like having a bath, get some Epsom salts.
Yep, at least 3 times a week.
Bless you.
I know, and I'm making sure I'm drinking loads. So I sort of I've got to a point where I'm like, everything. For some reason, this pregnancy, this is what it's affected me doing. But
but definitely mention it to your midwife. Make sure, because she might be able to do checks for it, and
Right. Okay.
Even if you just if you get it for free on the NHS rather than having to pay for it, might give you exactly the same stuff. But might be at least it's free.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Cool. All right, and we're going to come up to standing anyway now, so hopefully that will help. So if you're happy to, turning the toes under, having the hands by the knees, pressing into the hands, and you're going to slowly bring yourself up to stand. Good. Yeah, nice. Good. So it's another one of our ones that it seems really easy, but actually works so well on our pelvis and our hips. So you want to have your feet hip width apart. And what you're going to do is you're going to roll towards your toes and then out towards one side. So it doesn't really matter which side, but both feet are going to kind of go out to one side. And then you're going to go into the heels and then to the other side. So we're basically kind of rolling around the feet. But when we do that, you can notice how much our hips and our pelvis have to move to be able to create that movement. So we can see that it's all very much interconnected. There's this stuff that they're doing a lot of research on at the moment called fascia that kind of didn't even exist about 20 years ago. It's always existed, but the medical, they just used to cut it and just think it got in the way. But it's basically a web that goes around all of our muscles, all of our organs. And they reckon that this is part of our nervous system, that the signals for the body get sent through this fascia. And it's what they're believing that things like acupuncture and acupressure work on, because this fascia covers the whole of the body. So it's not like there's a muscle here and it only does this. It's like this bit of the fascia here is also connected around my neck and my jaw and my, so, you know, it kind of explains how pain gets transferred. We're going to just change direction and go in a different direction. So there's a theory that the fascia on the soles of our feet is very, very much connected to our pelvic floor. There's definite sort of mirror images in the body. So if you find somebody with high arches, they tend to have a deep curve in their lumbar curve. If you've got flat feet like me, then your natural position is a very flat back. So it really makes a difference to how our pelvis, So you've probably got quite high arches, Michaela. You've got got completely flat feet. You got, so mine kind of go in.
Almost flat feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Got quite a curve to my spine, so.
Yeah. But so you're quite unusual, but we already knew that.
Everywhere.
But normally people who have high arches have a high curve in their feet. But I think about that in my own head, and I'll say it when I've created a whole sentence rather than just blah, 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 blah. No, I'm just wondering if that's got any different, if it's making any difference to your pelvic floor, Michaela. That's what I was, yes. So as I say, when I've created a full sentence, I'll spit it out rather than just half a sentence. Good. Coming back to center. Good. So we're going to do a group of balance poses now, because again, to help to strengthen and lift our arches, which help to engage our smaller glute muscles, so our glute medium and glute minimum, which are actually hip stabilizing muscles. It all, as I say, it all connects in. So balancing really helps to kick these hip stabilizers in. So if you know balance isn't going to happen very easily today, then hold on to something. It could be just one finger is enough to help keep our balance. So if you're feeling out of balance, then have like even just one finger on something solid can really help. We're going to shift the weight into our right foot. And we're going to think about lifting our left leg up. So it could be that you have your big toe on the mat and the knee just lifts up a little bit. If it feels okay, you're going to bring that knee so it's in line with the hip. So straight out in front of you for the minute. Yeah. Good. Good. Think about lifting up through the collarbone so we're not kind of slunking into that. We're lifting ourselves up. Good. And then see how you feel. If it feels okay, you're going to take the leg out to the side. Now you can support that leg by resting the foot onto the inside of the leg. You can have the toe down. If it feels okay, try and hold that leg out to the side. Good. Yeah, do whatever you need to do with your hands. People use their hands in very different ways to be able to balance. I've been told to put a finger in my belly button. I've been told to hold my ear to help my balance. I just think I'll use my hands when I need them. We're going to take the leg out behind us. What I would like us to do is have a straight leg. So we don't want to bend in this knee because that switches all the muscles off. So we want to straighten that leg and see if we can keep our shoulders over our hips. Good. And then one more in this sequence. See if you can stay balanced, but you're going to bring your left knee in towards your right and send your left foot out to the side. So we're doing internal rotation to that hip joint this time. So knees are together and foot out to the side. Good. And gently releasing. Well done. Good. Maybe give the legs a bit of a shake. Good. So we'll do the other side. So left foot is our balancing foot. Again, take it steady if you want to on this side. If you need to on this side, please do so. If it feels okay, you're going to lift that knee up. Good. Again, just think about lifting the collarbones, lifting up through the spine. So we're then engaging our lower back muscles as well. Good. If it feels okay, take the leg out to the side. Stay, support it if you need to. If it feels okay, have it. So we're really strengthening those hip muscles, those hip flexors. Good. And then take that leg out behind you again. If you can, keep the legs straight. You can keep the big toes down if you want to. If you can, try and keep the shoulders over the hips. So what your body will try and do to make it easier is bring the body forward, and it just switches off some of the muscles that we want to really engage. By having the shoulders over the hips, these muscles around the outer pelvis really have to work to stabilize. And then the last one, having the right knee in towards the left and the right foot out to the side. And gently release. Give the legs a shake. I'm just going to let my cut out. Oh. Lovely. So we're going to do our hulas. So I love hulas. For me, I find it much nicer to have my feet turned out to the side, but they are doable with the feet in parallel. But see how you go. You want to sort of have more freedom of movement. And then we're going to hula, and we're going to hula, and we're going to hula. And you can join in saying hula every time if you want to. Hula. Good. Good. So when you're doing this, really think about sticking those hips out as much as you can. Good. Good. And then you're going to hula hula. So you're going to hula hula. And you'll hula hula. Thank you, Meg. I'm glad you're joining in. I can see your lips moving. Everybody's husband's going, what on earth are they doing down there? Hula, hula. Good. Good. If they feel okay, you can turn your hulas into circles. So you come up onto the toes and the hips go all the way around. So hips go over to one side, up onto toes, down onto the other side. So we're kind of circling that way round rather than the usual sort of backwards and forwards. Yeah, lovely. I love to see bumps when we're doing this. They just look brilliant. Good. So again, all of this, all of us moving our hips around, what do you think that that's doing to our pelvic floor? So we don't kind of think about, we don't kind of think about this movement being pelvic floor movement, but it very much is. We're going to change directions in the circle, so go to the other side. Good. Lovely. I've got very clicky ankles again going this way. They won't clicky on the other direction, but this direction they've got going click, click. Good, well done. Gently settling back into center. Good. So we're going to do our Charlie Chaplin pigeon toes. So if you've got a wall close by, then you can rest your fingertips onto the wall. Do try and make it fingertips rather than palms of the hands, because if we put the palms of the hands down, what tends to happen is we curve the spine. If you don't have a wall, then you'll have your hands onto your thighs instead. So you'll just support yourself in a half forward bend. So see how you go. If you've got a wall, use it. If you don't have a wall, don't use it. Good. So have the hands about hip height and then walk the heels back so you really get a sense of sticking your bum out. You could do possibly, that would work, Michaela. Well done. Good. And then you're going to bring your big toes in towards each other. So the heels are out to the sides and the toes are in towards each other. And then still really stick your bum out. Yeah, good, good, good. And then just change direction. So the big toes are going to go away from each other and the heels are going to come in towards each other. So this is what I call Charlie Chaplin. Still trying to stick your bum out as much as you can. Yeah, good. Good. And then bring in the feet back parallel, bend the knees, walk towards your support to gently release. Good. Let me just let my cat back in again. Obviously got bored in there. So they reckon that this movement in particular, this internal then external rotation, is really useful when you're about 5-6 centimeters dilated and baby's head is just trying to kind of turn the corner to be able to come down. So if you go for being internally examined and you're told that you're about 5-6 centimeters, so that's a really useful one to do. It's actually quite useful postnatally as well to really just help kind of bring that pelvis kind of back into alignment. It works all of the front of the pelvis and the back of the pelvis. So it's a really useful, quick kind of movement that you can do. We're going to come down to sitting. So again, if you're happy to, you're going to bend both knees, bring the hands down, then the knees come down. Good. And we're going to come into our mermaid position. So we're going to come into our pinwheel pigeon. There is an option to go into full pigeon if it feels okay. So pinwheel pigeon, we keep our legs like this and we bring the collarbones forward. Full pigeon is we stretch one leg out behind. So if you fancy doing that one, just make sure you've got space behind you to be able to do it. But I'll talk you into it. So starting, let's have the feet, both feet have kind of turned around towards the left. So you've ended up with left heel near left hip and right foot near left thigh. So if that feels comfortable, then we're going to bring the collarbones forward. So make sure you've not collapsed through the chest. Bring the collarbones forward. Lengthen yourself over your front leg. When you're there, then you can choose, does it feel okay to take that left leg out behind you, or does that feel quite a lot on your hips? So see how it feels. If it feels okay, take it out behind you. If it doesn't, don't. I will bend that back knee and slowly come up. Good. Then swinging your legs around to the other side. Good. So again, this side may feel very different. So it may be that this side actually pinwheel pigeon is the one that's going to suit you better. It may be actually this side it feels okay to take the right leg out behind you. Good. Yeah, lead with those collarbones, legs and forwards. Lovely. Good. Just really releasing that back knee. Releasing both legs. So I'm going to offer a bridge practice to finish with. So we will start by lying on our backs, but we won't be there for very long at all because we're going to come into bridge. But I want to just show you briefly what we're going to do. So you'll come down to your bridge, you're lying on your back pose. You'll bring your heels quite close in towards the hips, and then we press into the feet. We make sure everything else is nice and relaxed. We press into the feet. Our pelvis will start to gently lift up. You could do a very small lift. You could do a higher lift. It doesn't matter to me. But when you're there, what I want you to do is kind of release the weight of one foot. So one hip just gently drops down, and then you press back into that foot. The pelvis comes back level, and then you release the other foot, and that side goes down. It's called dancing bridge. So we kind of drop one hip, and then we come up, and we drop the other hip. So it's a really nice side to side movement. So that's what I'm going to suggest. Is everybody okay to do that? As I say, you're not going to be lying on your back for very long. Yeah, cool, lovely. So just take your time, go sideways, so we're not using our abdominal muscles to bring ourselves down to lying down. So go to the side first, and then roll yourself over. Yeah, good. The closer you have the heels to the hips, the easier it is, and there's less effort you have to do. Take the arms wherever's comfortable. Classically, they would be out at shoulder height, palms facing upwards. So we really switch off the shoulder and the neck. When you feel ready to, gently press into the feet. And as you press into the feet, the pelvis should really nicely lift up without too much effort. So it should be nice and relaxed. We're not clenching our glutes. The feet have us. And then you just gently take the weight off one foot, so one hip drops down towards the mat. And then you press back into that foot, and you come back to center. And then you just change sides. The other foot relaxed, and that hip drops. Good. And just gently moving from side to side. It's not a movement we do in our everyday life, so it might take a few moments for your body to figure out what your brain's trying to tell it to do. Good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. Next time you've done equal on both sides, we're going to gently roll down, but we do want support this time. So do engage your glutes, clench your butt muscles as you slowly roll down vertebrae by vertebrae. So we use the muscles on the way down to really support that heavy weight of the pelvis. Good. If it feels good to you, you're going to take both knees wide, so either side of the belly, squeeze those knees in. You could do happy baby pose if you want to, so that's just catching either the ankles or the toes, but it's the same position for the thighs. So if you're happier with those shins in towards the thighs, that's fine. If it feels happier to have your feet up towards the ceiling, then that's fine. And then gently releasing, taking one foot at a time back down onto the mat. Good. And then taking your time to find your relaxation position. Good. So find whatever you feel comfortable with. I think by the look of the clock, I'm going to possibly be going over by a little bit, but maybe 10 minutes, if that's okay. Cool. Is that okay for you, Laura, to just go over by about 10 minutes? Just give me a thumbs up if I... Yes, cool, lovely. Okay, so as always, do be warm enough to play with the lighting. So when we soften the lighting, when we darken our space, that helps our body to produce lots of hormones that help us sleep, that help us relax as well. So it's, when we think about our birth room, if it's possible to dim the lights, then that's a good thing to be able to do. But if you can't dim the lights, then you could always take something that you could just gently have over your eyes, so an eye pillow or something like that. So again, it just gives your body the idea that it's dark. So eye pillows are quite useful for that. I sort of recommend them if I have a daytime class but I can't close the curtains in. So take your time, wriggle and jiggle until you find the perfect place. And then take a couple of long, slow, deep breaths. Allow the exhalation to bring you more peaceful, more relaxed. Just start to allow your focus to move from the outside world. It's time to go into a state of peace and relaxation. As you breathe out, let your shoulders gently drop down a little more with each out breath. Feel the tension in your face smooth out as the muscles in your face relax. Each and every breath you take brings you more peace, your whole body relaxing. Now, as you enjoy this feeling of peace and relaxation, imagine that you are standing alone in an open, grassy field or a special place out in nature that is peaceful to you. This is your imagination, so there are no limits, there are no rules. Wherever you find yourself is just fine. Allow your imagination to roam freely and allow it to choose wherever works for you best. And now find yourself standing in this peaceful place that you've chosen. There's no one around you. You are standing alone, feeling wonderfully free. Free of all the noise, no one around you to disturb your peace. And you can take this time to reflect on your day with a feeling of detachment. Just think about some of the things that have happened today or recently. Things that maybe didn't go the way you wanted them to go. Any daily worries or stresses, frustrations. Things that you don't like and you want to change. And in this place, here and now, you are ready to let go of all the stresses and embrace peace. Letting go of stress can be easy and it can be fun. And because this is your imagination and there is no one around, it can be a pleasant, enjoyable experience. You look down, and just like in a dream, you notice that suddenly you are wearing a jacket with deep pockets. And you become a little curious, and you wonder what's in those pockets. And as you reach deep into the pockets, you pull out a handful of brightly coloured balloons. And you don't really wonder too much about how they got there, just like you don't wonder why you're wearing a jacket. Because just like in a dream, things can appear and disappear. And you can decide on the meaning or change the meaning as you please. As you look down at your hands holding all those brightly coloured balloons, you get a wonderful idea and you know just what to do. And let go of any remaining stress in your mind and your body. There may be one or two things that are causing you stress, or there may be many things. But it's now time to release all of that so that you can have peace of mind. So think of the first issue that is causing you the most stress. What is in the front of your mind? What is the biggest stress that you would like to remove first? And now give it a name. It could be a situation, a person, money issue, whatever it is, you will know it right away. And when you have given your stress or problem a name, go ahead and think of a colour that you like, a colour that is soothing and comforting to you. When you have chosen a colour, just look down and notice that you have a balloon in that exact colour. Imagine that this colour can soothe and comfort your stress. Now go ahead and blow up the balloon. As you take a big, deep breath in your imagination, just imagine that you are exhaling and filling up the balloon in one big out breath. And as you exhale in your imagination, you also exhale all the stress and worry concerning your biggest issue. And you can easily tie the balloon up, feeling in all of that stress about your biggest problem. And you notice that you feel a little bit better, a little bit lighter. Now imagine that you can write the name of your stress or worry on the balloon. You can use your finger and trace the words, or you can imagine that you have the pen to write them. Either way is fine. This is your imagination. There is no right or wrong way. Now, when you are ready to let this stress or worry go, hold the balloon high up in the air. Open your fingers and release it. And you watch as the breeze catches and carries the balloon, and you see it moving along higher and higher. And you start to feel happier and lighter than you felt before. And you watch the balloon float upwards and become smaller. And as it becomes smaller, you feel much lighter, feel more relaxed. And you watch as it becomes just a small dot in the sky. And as it disappears, it carries away your stress with it. Now you are ready to release your next concern. Think of the next thing that is causing you stress. It may feel less intense than the previous one, but you know how much better you will feel when you release it. So think of what you would like to release next. When you are ready, give the stress or worry a name again, just like you did before. Now choose a colour that feels peaceful to you. Dig deep down into your pockets and find a balloon that matches that colour perfectly. Imagine that this colour can heal the stress you are feeling and bring you peace. In your imagination, take a big, deep breath again. And as you breathe out all the stress and the worries into the balloon. You can tie the balloon, feeling in all the stress and worry. And when you are ready, write the name of that concern on the balloon. Whatever you want to call it is just fine. It's perfect for you. Now it's time to let it go. Raise it up into the air and just let the wind catch it and carry it away. Imagine feeling lighter than before, more carefree as you watch it disappear into the blue sky, feeling the stress of that concern fade away. Take a moment to enjoy feeling lighter, feeling more peaceful. Allow that sensation to fill up your body. Feel how good that feels and allow yourself to relax even more. Now there is only one more thing to do. And as you stand there under the perfect blue sky, notice the stillness and peace in your body. Take the time to become aware if there is any more tension or stress that you are holding in your body, or anything else that is on your mind, however small. When you have found it, no matter how small it is, notice it and be present with it. It may be something very small, or it may be several minor issues. It may be something that you can't clearly name. You don't have to even try. Just simply notice that there is something there. Now think of a colour that represents total peace to you. And when you reach into your pocket, you find that you have a balloon in that same colour. Take the last of your remaining worries and in your imagination, take a big, deep breath and release all the leftover worries in one big out breath into the balloon. Tie it up and seal everything in. Notice how you feel even better now. You are letting go of the last of your worries and frustrations. Now one last time, raise your arms and let go of the balloon, allowing it to become free, releasing everything right now, letting it all go, feeling more peaceful, more relaxed. Can you lie down and take a rest on the warm, soft grass and watch as the balloon floats away? Take your time watching it floating away, becoming smaller and smaller until finally it's gone. Enjoy this feeling of being carefree, your body completely relaxed, and your mind feeling free. If you would like to stay rested and unwind and pleasant, if you would like to become a little bit more awake and aware, then find a comfortable and easy way of doing that. Namaste.